And continuing on, we have the second part of the problem, which is about multiple choice. So for the first question, Entity A government entity, purchases inventories. To record a purchase, Entity A would most likely debit the or an A. Inventory account, B. Purchase account, C. Expense account, D. A or B. And the correct answer is letter A, inventory account. The reason for that is because government entity uses perpetual inventory system. So we all know that perpetual inventory system, there is only inventory account instead of purchased account because that is for the periodic inventory system. Number two, Entity A government hospital, acquires medicine to be sold in its pharmacy. Entity A would record the medicines acquired as letter A, semi-expendable property, B, inventory held for consumption, C, inventory held for distribution, and D, inventory held for sale rather. So the correct answer would be letter D, inventory held for sale. Number three, Entity a government entity, purchases relief goods which are to be held on standby, ready to be distributed when a calamity strikes, and entity would most likely classify the goods purchased as A. Inventory held for consumption, B. Inventory held for distribution, C. Purchases, and D. None of these, only a note disclosure shall be made. The correct answer would be letter B, inventory held for distribution, because the key word here is the word relief goods which are to be likely um, distributed when a calamity strikes. So for number 4, according to the GAM for NGAS, this shall be used for large number of items of inventory that are ordinarily interchangeable. So letter A, specific identification, B, FIFO, C, weighted average cost applied in a periodic inventory system, D, weighted average cost applied in a perpetual inventory system, and E, any of these as matter of accounting policy choice. So the answer is obviously letter D, because we all know that letter B and letter C is not applicable for the government entities, and so the answer would be either A and D. However, the answer is D because this is about large number of items of inventory that are ordinarily interchangeable. So number 5, this refers to the cost an entity would incur to acquire an asset on the reporting date. Letter A, net realizable value, B, fair value, C, current replacement cost, D, present value. So the answer would be letter C, current replacement cost. Number 6. Which of the following inventories of government entity would be subsequently measured at the lower of cost and current replacement cost? Letter A. Inventories of rice that are held for sale. B. Medicines being sold by government-owned pharmacy. C. Books to be distributed to students in public schools. And D, forest products held for sale. So the answer is letter C. Books to be distributed to students in public schools are inventories of government entities that would be subsequently be measured at the lower of cost and current replacement cost, because A, B, and D are inventories that are held for sale and should be subsequently be measured at lower of cost and net realizable value. So those inventories that um, held for distribution should be subsequently measured at lower of cost and current replacement cost. Therefore, letter C is the correct answer. So number 7, which of the following events or transactions would not lead to the recognition of cost of inventory as expense? Letter A, the inventory is written down. B, The inventory is distributed for free. C. The inventory is exchanged for dissimilar inventory. And D. The inventory is consumed in the manufacturing process. So the answer is letter D. The inventory is consumed in the manufacturing process, because we all know that in the raw materials, if the raw materials will be consumed or be used rather for the um, manufacturing process, then we only gonna debit the work in process inventory and then credit the raw materials inventory. Unlike the letter A, B, and C, that we will recognize them as expense or certain appropriate expense account. However, for letter D, it will be absorbed by the work in process inventory to finished goods inventory. Number 8. The accounting division of a government entity uses this to record and monitor the movements and balances of inventories. Letter A, stock card. Letter B, stock ledger card. Letter C, journal entry. And letter D, special journal. So the answer for this is letter B, stock ledger card. Because the accounting division uses the stock ledger card to show both the quantities and monetary amounts of all receipts and issuance of inventory, as well as the available balance at any given point in time. Number 9. Which of the following statements correctly differentiates the stock card from the stock ledger card? Letter A. The stock card ledger is maintained by the budget division while the stock card is maintained by the accounting division. Letter B. The stock card is subject to audit by the COA while the stock ledger card is not. Letter C. The stock card shows quantities only while the stock ledger card shows monetary balances only. And letter D. The stock card shows quantities only while the stock ledger card shows quantities as well as monetary amounts. So the correct answer is letter D. The stock card shows quantities only while the stock ledger card shows quantities as well as monetary amounts. Letter A is not the correct answer because the stock card ledger is maintained by the property or supply division instead of the budget division. And letter B, the stock card is subject to audit by COA while stock ledger card is not. That is a false statement because the stock ledger card is what should be audited by the COA since that is handled by the accounting division, the stock ledger card. And letter C, the stock card shows quantities only while the stock ledger card shows monetary balances only. That is also a false statement because the stock ledger card um, shows also the quantities, not just monetary balances. So that's why letter D is the correct answer. So last but not the least, this document is prepared when end users request for the issuance of inventories that are available on stock. Letter A, purchase requisition form. B, custodian inventory slip. Letter C, purchase order. And letter D, requisition and issue slip. So I have discussed this in the true or false statement that requisition and issue slips are prepared when end users request for issuance of inventories that are available on stock. Because letter A, purchase requisition form, are the issuance of inventories that are not available on stock. That's why the answer for this item is letter D. I guess that would be all for the second problem, multiple choice in inventories. And let's see again in part 3.